Guys, what's the most unattractive thing girls do that they think is attractive? Fake anything. The problem is guys don't always spot the fake things, just the poorly done fake things. So it's easy to call out the bad lip jobs, bad makeup, etc., but then models and celebrities will be celebrated without their work being called out. I've told this story before, but I was having a convo with an ex. He was commenting on my soft tits. I started laughing because I thought it was one of those he's trying to make me feel good type of things. So I was like, I've touched titties myself, in hugs, accidentally, because friends let me, and they've all been soft. He was like, no, put my insert ex that he had for 5 years wasn't a small girl. She had a good size and hers weren't like that. We went back and forth about how she had implants and he was like, nope, because he didn't see any scars. I had to pull up Google to show him that the current procedure doesn't leave scars and how implants are placed behind the muscle, etc. He was still adamant that I was the odd female with the soft body. I guess he really loved her. Try and look like Kim K or any influencer is like repellent for me. It annoys me how much the media lets Kim K and her family decide what's in. Like Kim lost weight to be able to fit in Marilyn Monroe's dress. I feel like she should have left the dress alone, but that's another story. And the tabloids were yelling that skinny is back. I feel sorry for all young girls having to hear that, since I had to hear that as a young girl in the late 00s and early 10s. I did not take that well. I want to clarify I feel no hate towards Kim nor her family, and I do not blame her for the tabloids abusing her weight loss. I mostly feel sorry for her because she is basically treated as a living marketing tool and not a person. I was that girl when I was much younger because it's how I was raised. I was a child model and was constantly told that every other girl was my competition. Then I got into my first serious relationship where the man constantly compared me to other women and made me feel like I was in competition with all of them. After getting out of that relationship and doing some healing, I finally started to unlearn the habit of picking apart other women and trying to beat them in an imaginary competition. Every time I started to think something negative about another woman, I'd stop myself and make an effort to pick out something I like about them instead. Now every time I look at another woman, the first thing that comes to mind is something positive, which I usually make an effort to share with them. It's a bit of a rewiring of the brain, but it's certainly made me a much happier person and boosted my own confidence in the process, not always comparing myself to others. I know everyone hates on women who are competitive with other women, but boyfriend, it's how most women are raised. Movies, parents, school, boyfriends, everyone just keeps pitting us against each other. Not to mention how big of a hit it takes on one's self-esteem, because someone will always be nicer, or kinder, or prettier, or funnier, or more fashionable, or smarter, etc. No one can be the best at everything. It takes real work and healing to realize that you can't possibly compete with half of the world, and it's much more peaceful to be nice to each other and have each other's backs instead. We complain about men putting us down, then women put other women down, so who is building us up? I'm so happy that the narrative is slowly changing and we are encouraging young girls to support each other. Women, men too, but we do it a bit differently, can get possessive, and it can pop up in weird ways. It's definitely a thing when they're in a relationship and other women are perceived as threats, but even if it's just a friend, it can express itself by hating on someone else who is not their friend, but the friend of their friend. I've noticed it the worst when it's a male-female friendship and a second woman enters the picture. If the woman decides the male is their friend and ought to be only their friend, that other woman is going to be torn to pieces behind her back, of course. Before people go on the men and women can't be friends tack, you'll notice it the most in work environments, where it's coworker type friends. No equal relationships are required for this dynamic to pop up. It's just a quirk that exists in that kind of system. I've gotten familiar with it by observation. My ex did this thing where any female coworker, friend, gym goer, or service worker I was near interacted with was automatically a whore, slut, or other derogatory slur for women. She thought it was a cute way to be territorial or possessive, and show that she wanted us to share a special intimacy. Turned out it all stemmed from major trust issues, major misandry, and major insecurity. It got old so fast, but I tried to encourage healthy ways to process and grow away from whatever caused those things, until it took such a toll on my mental and physical health that I couldn't any longer. So yeah, That kind of irks me. As a woman, I try and put others, especially women, up, compliment anyone possible. I know it can get annoying, but it's how I came to terms with the fact we are raised to tear each other down. I used to, and sometimes am still that woman, and most the time I keep it to myself. And if I have the opportunity, I will verbally compliment the woman I feel subconsciously threatened by, to counter that part of me raised to see all other women as threats. Now, I'll still make fun of a girl for stupid actions as I would a man, or strange fashion choices act. Normal stuff that we all question. But that deeply installed insecurities that many other men and women contributed in my development, I consciously do try to push against. I mostly win that battle now that I'm older. If you make a woman aware of this, most likely they will get defensive, but after a while it gets tiring to just hate on other women because way they were born, social status, beliefs, pretty much everything but things they deserve to be judged for, like personality or very poor choices. As a young adult and teenager, that hate is seriously as quick as a reflex taught to me by society. As an adult, I actively push against it. It is not easy all the time. But in my 30 seconds, it has become more natural. Sometimes it feels forced or fake, but I usually never disrespect someone unless they disrespect me first now. It's learned behavior. I enjoy being older and secure and also taking some time to self-reflect. Do I get twinges of jealousy when I see women 20 years my junior looking gorgeous? Yes, but then I remember I had my time in the sun too, and it's part of life. I try to build up women around me, but I do find it funny when I go from a group to a group and just hear them talking about each other. Not funny, haha, but there's so much more to worry about than the top, skirt, or whatever makeup that other woman is wearing. Many don't learn that the beauty of another doesn't diminish yours. When I was young, I knew this girl at church with, and I'm just being honest here and telling you what I remember about her, huge tits. That was amazing to young me. She had young, inexperienced me over to her apartment alone. Imagine me, alone with this girl with huge tits who seemed into me. She spent 15 minutes badmouthing the other girls we knew. I left pretty soon after. So yes, this even snaps horny, barely out of high school dudes who like you and are way into your tits out of our infatuations. It was the same when my ex and I got together. I was more of a negative person than I am nowadays. Not that I've changed drastically, and she still is last time I checked. So it was never a problem at first. But over time, it got annoying as fuck when all you hear whenever some random girl's name mentioned is, "Oh, I fucking hate that, I hope she gets run over." Like no matter who she could be, there was always something negative to say about her. That relationship was a pretty good example of two people drifting apart and changing as people over time. Although we were teens, so that's what happens. Dropping hints instead of just being direct. I had a flatmate at university who, to my knowledge, was a lesbian. It was one of the things she mentioned early on. A few months into uni, she, unbeknownst to me, realizes she's bisexual and has a crush on me. She proceeds to drop hints all the time. At no point does she tell me she's bi. She's hanging out with me more than usual, being close to me, hugging me all the time. I understand as she sees me as a really close friend, as do I her. During this time, I develop a crush on her myself. However, still to my knowledge, she is a lesbian. So I respect her choice in that, and I don't pursue a relationship with her. She noticeably, not to me but all our other friends, gets jealous whenever I talk fondly about a girl I went to school with back home. During a holiday, I go home and hang out with said girl. I'm chatting about university and the flatmate with her. The friend from home thinks the flatmate has a crush on me. I say, nah, she doesn't. She's a lesbian. I'm a guy. We're just good friends. She says I think she might be bi. Back at uni, I investigate, and one night I text her saying, "Do you have a crush on me?" And she replies with yes. LS's we start dating. Then whenever the classic conversation with friends comes up, I was dropping so many hints and he just never caught on to them. Like normally it'd be, "Yeah, me dumb man, me no notice hints," but in this situation I always have to chime in with, "But you told me you were a lesbian when we met." I was being respectful of that, and then, but my hints were so obvious, to which I'd have to say, "Yes, but you were a lesbian." As a guide for women, I suggest thinking of hinting to a guy like you're a general hinting to their troops to engage in combat. A troop hearing, "There may be enemy troops in that building," isn't going to engage. being further told your S would be invaluable infiltrating and taking out those troops still won't prompt engagement. Even enemy troops have been identified, and it's vital we take them out won't lead to action, because the soldier knows he's in serious trouble if he misinterprets and acts inappropriately. This sounds ridiculous, but it is similar to a guy making a move on a girl, especially one he values a friendship with. Acting on hints and asking her out may seem obvious, but misinterpreting hints could lead to the friendship becoming awkward or even the guy getting a reputation as a creep, which often depends less on the guy's actual actions than on his perceived attractiveness from the lady involved. I don't have a solution to this, as obviously a woman who makes a misguided move will also be judged. I merely offer the analogy to help any confused ladies understand why even clear and obvious hints aren't always acted on. In my experience, this is a combination of poor communication as poor expectations their man will psychically just know, and being educated about unhealthy relationship standards that it's acceptable to expect someone to psychically know everything. Many people don't realize that if there are behaviors they don't like, it's more healthy to solve it whilst it's happening, instead of dropping hints and having a big argument after the fact. Is this really a gendered behavior that's specific to women? In my experience, it's typically pretty damn hot when someone realizes the person they're speaking to is being subtle about their interest in them, when that interest is mutual, of course. I've seen flirting as described as dropping hints that you're interested in intimacy, and it's hard to disagree with that. However, if you're talking about women avoiding being direct about something confrontational, like telling someone they're not interested, then that's just because they get murdered and assaulted for saying no so often. Especially when she thinks she's being obvious, because her hint was what she's consciously thinking about and focusing on, but she doesn't think about it from his perspective, where he has all the usual sensory input coming from the world in general, and is not focusing on the tiny detail that she fluffed up her hair slightly when she was still 50 away from him. I feel like we get told we are being bossy or at an early age when we are direct. My little cousin was like 3 on a playground and orchestrated a whole pretend game with all these kids, and they had fun, but then one of the moms was like, "Whose bossy little girl is this?" My little cousin looked so disheartened, and thankfully I was a jerky teen, so I said something, but it still left an impression. I think this actually is a double-edged sword. Not only do I need to constantly be looking out for those hints to interpret so that I take the true and complete meaning and intent, I also need to keep in mind that whenever I talk, even though I intended to say roughly what I meant in full, she is flipping every word over to discover the secret meaning behind the meaning and taking away concepts and ideas that I didn't know I had. In other words, women sometimes expect that you are talking to them like they talk to you. And then all of a sudden telling her I am tired and going to bed means that we need to have some kind of serious talk about something I might be alluding to here. For what it's worth, my wife and I are doing great. I am hyperbolizing here to make a point, but this topic has definitely come up a few times. But implants, they look terrible. I'm a lady, but I have to jump in here. Down by the pool at our resort last year, this lady walked up with a sarong and I thought her profile looked a bit off. A rather trim woman on the top, but her sarong was sticking way out in the back. Then she took it off and she was wearing a bikini underneath. Her butt was so incredibly fake looking. It stuck out behind her much further than it should have and kind of wasn't really round. There was this shelf look to it somehow, like you could balance a cup on it. There were plenty of people looking at her, but it wasn't for the reason she probably thought. They have become so common where I live, and it's getting out of control. Looks like it's meant to be comical in some cases, like balloons under your pants. I naturally have a big butt, and when I was younger in school, I was teased mercilessly and called Buffalo Butt. Then all of a sudden, it became popular, and I at first was worried people would think mine was fake too, but the fake ones, whether transfer or implants, etc., look so fake and cartoonish and usually also don't match the body, like no hips, no thighs, just a butt sticking out behind you like a bumper. So I was like, okay, well now mine looks regular sized because everyone is enhanced, but at least it doesn't look like I'm stealing Thanksgiving turkeys. It's out of necessity at times though, not meant to be cute. Some guys just get mad if you know more than them about stuff they consider their domain, like tech, sports, etc. My friend's boyfriend started raising his voice at me recently because he couldn't handle the fact that he didn't know some factoids and kept trying to argue nonsensical counterpoints. I ended up saying, yeah, I could be wrong. I don't know a lot to keep the peace. I was at a beach motel with a large group of friends during spring break back in late high school days. Most people are outside sitting in a circle around a fire passing around a joint. My buddy was fighting with his girlfriend and she came over to flirt with me, so I got up and left. Went to a room with the lights off to lay down. Didn't know one of our friends was in the room hanging out on the other bed. She said it was cool if we just hung, so I kept my distance and we chatted. She was obviously pretty, but now I was learning she was quite intelligent, articulate, and felt very real. I didn't know her super well, but I felt like I got to know her and thought, wow, there's more to her than I thought. Then her 2-3 girlfriends came into the room and her voice changed. She was dragging words and sounded vapid and did some vocal fry. Rest of the trip, I only saw her with other people around and she'd fallen back into this dumbed down character. She went on to university and graduated, had a nice corporate gig. Then she met a hot idiot with money, so now she just travels and posts pics of herself on IG. Wanted to be an IG model, but now it's just clips of whatever rich she's doing. I used to do this. Not only did a lot of guys in the area I grew up in hate when girls were smarter than them, but people took advantage of the intelligent. And the first time you make a small mistake, you got berated for being stupid when they don't know any of it in the first place. My own mother did it to me. My teachers would always catch on and know I was much smarter than I was acting, but I was too terrified to show my brain because of everyone else's attitude to intelligence. These days, fuck it. You're not worth my time if you treat me that way. Taking endless selfies. That non-stop need for an online dopamine hit and constant need for being liked is one of the worst qualities in a person I know. Sitting on our balcony on honeymoon, we watched a girl make her we're assuming boyfriend take multiple pics of her at different angles and such, and she kept checking them and giving the phone back to him to take more. They were literally there for 40 minutes. Guy looking sick of his life. Me and husband said we would have walked off from her ages ago. I encourage all women and girls to stop doing this. I had a horrible habit of doing this in my 20s and it caused so many problems with my mental health. I stopped taking selfies and living my life online and learned to discern reality from fantasy online presence. And my mental health couldn't be better. You don't realize how bad it is until you're looking at it through outside perspective. And internet, social media addiction is real. It's insane what it does to your mindset and everything. Basing your entire personality and life around your appearance. It might be attractive in the short term, but if you treat yourself like some kind of trophy, you are just objectifying yourself, especially when you think that is enough and have nothing else. Both men and women would ideally like a partner they find physically attractive, but regardless of your gender, if you base your whole life around looking good and not developing and improving yourself as a person, you will be unattractive. Reading these comments, taking notes on things I can do to make men leave me alone like. The problem is hate all that too, so I'm not really trying to get a BBL and beasting lips, trying to just get left alone. And let me tell you, as a semi-butch hetero chick, it's a fun combination. Let me tell you, there is very little you can do to turn off men, except, in my younger experiences, directly expressing desire for them. The good ones were never a concern to begin with, and the bad ones refused to acquiesce all signals of female independence from male fulfillment. Drawn on eyebrows, fuck that. Just a reminder to be kind. Some women have no choice but to draw in their eyebrows. I had to when I was going through chemo. I lost all my hair, eyelashes and eyebrows included. I wore a wig so nobody knew, but I had to draw in my eyebrows and wear fake lashes. You don't know what someone's situation is, so there might be a reason. Don't be quick to judge when you see a woman with drawn-on eyebrows or wearing fake lashes. Yes, I know a large majority of them are doing it because they think it looks good, but it will be the one person you don't expect to be sick that it really impacts the most. Nobody knew I was sick. I hid it the entire year I was going through chemo, and comments like these were like pouring salt in a wound. And I know they are for others that are in my position, so I just want to bring awareness to this. As an aesthetics nurse, let me be very clear. You probably do like these things like a little Botox and lip injection, etc., but if it's done properly, you won't even know. Ladies, make sure your practitioner is extremely well trained and experienced. My last set of lips, she messaged me, said it's perfect, and her boyfriend who lives with her didn't even notice until 2 weeks later. Not everyone who gets a nip or tuck or tweakment looks overdone. Acting stupid, pretending to not understand or not be capable of something so that someone they're interested in will come to their rescue and explain the thing. It's just so transparent and annoying to know that someone is intentionally playing dumb to get something out of you. I think they believe they're being vulnerable or something. Like they think that they're displaying that they need you, and then when you do the thing they're just so grateful and you're just such a great guy and they totally want you to be attracted to just how incapable they are. I can't even explain it in a way that doesn't sound stupid is how fucking stupid it is. My previous job had a girl that was forever doing this, flirting with people, pretending not to know how to use a computer or our tools properly, or not being able to do basic to try and attract someone who would run to her rescue. I don't know why this hasn't been mentioned, but talking about their ex is a huge turnoff for me, and this is for 2 big reasons. Their ex isn't here to defend his stance, so I am only hearing one side of the story. And also, it doesn't align with my personal beliefs where what happened within a relationship should stay within that relationship. I may have had tie exes, but I'll never publicly talk about them behind their backs to another person. If I end up dating this woman, someday she'll be talking about me to others if things don't work out. I advise people to not be particularly anal about women having work done when it comes to lips and such. I don't find it attractive either, and it's fine if you don't, but you need to understand that that is just a segment of the population where it is visible. You can walk around and see a lot of girls with nice lips, nice breasts, etc., where this is not immediately visible and identifiable as a cosmetic change, but found attractive even if it does mean they got work done. Realized this when one of my female friends told me she had something done to her forehead, which I would not have noticed ever, but it may have enhanced her appearance ever so slightly by hiding wrinkles. Lip injections and drawn-on eyebrows. Never seen a girl it's looked good on. Never met a guy who said otherwise. You've definitely seen a girl it's looked good on, but you just didn't know it was fake because more and more people can afford good quality and realistic injections, procedures on the body. And fake eyebrows, microbladed eyebrows are more common now, I think, and there's also lots of new and improved eyebrow products to recreate real-looking ones. Many people don't know how to pick out a natural woman through sight alone anymore, because 90% of all the hot women you see on social media, movies, shows, and stuff have had at least one type of procedure, vasetioning done. Nothing wrong with it because obviously they all look amazing, but it's interesting to think about. Some girls finds their photo face. Most girl will do a bit of duck style to enhance their cheekbones, and that's okay. But what I really hate is when they contort their face into that cute face that isn't cute at all. It isn't even making their face look pretty. Some girls does this so badly that they literally look much uglier than if they would relax their face muscles. Sometimes on the dating apps these girls will have like 6 straight photos of them in the same scenario in front of mirror of this contorted face that makes them look ugly. I don't even care how you look at this point, you're out. Next, I cannot for the life of me understand. It's so strange there was never much mention about fake anything until social media took everyone's minds by storm. Imagine the old days when everyone had no idea about all this fake. Women never dreamed of changing their bodies, medically altering. Life was just real. Those who were beautiful were lucky, but those who lived their lives striving to make their families and friends stronger were resoundingly revered. Those women and men didn't give a rat's ass about fake gibberish. They didn't have the time of day for such notions. These days, the greatest standard anyone could achieve is a high level of authenticity. Wow, just wow.